You're listening to Dakota Spotlight. My name is James Wallner. This is episode 4 of season 8, Unresolved, the Murder of Joel Lovelien. In this episode, we're going to change gears a little bit and learn more about the most important person in this story, Joel Lovelien. In later episodes, we will return to the events surrounding his death. We'll look at the Travis Stay trial, we will zoom in on the party bus again and some of its passengers. But for now, let's forget about Joel's sudden death, and instead, let's learn more about the man's life. Joel was just 38 years old when he died, but he was more than the victim of an assault. He was a father, a brother, a son, a friend, an ex-husband, a fiancé. In 2007, Joel was employed at All True Hospital in Grand Forks, where he worked as a technical systems analyst. Joel was divorced at the time. His ex-wife Heidi and him had a daughter they adored, Alexa. And Joel was newly engaged. He and his fiancée Heather were planning to get married the next year. So in this episode, for a change, you won't be hearing my voice quite as much, because I never had the opportunity to meet Joel Lovelien. Instead, I'd like you to hear from a few people who did know him, and we'll start with his big sister, Erica. I recently had the opportunity to visit with Erica on the phone, and I learned quite a bit about Joel. Among other things, I learned that Joel and Erica were adopted from within the state of North Dakota when they were just a few weeks old.
I was adopted through Lutheran Social Services of North Dakota, and I believe my folks probably went through the same agency to get Joel. And I was originally born in Jamestown, and Joel was originally his parents, and he was from Mandan. So we are both North Dakota kids. And he kind of came into the picture after me. I'm the big sister. He's the little brother. And we got Joel. My dad's nickname for him when he was little was Tiger Meat. I wanted Dad to call me Tiger Meat, but no, I was Punkin' Wunkin' Daddy's little Duncan. Try to live that one down. We both had kind of brown hair and brown eyes, and actually kind of resembled each other when we were younger. So it was just really, we were brother and sister, and there was no questions about it. It was just normal. It was our deal. So it wasn't odd to us. Our parents were always very open and spoke openly about it. For years, not only did we have a birthday, but we had a gotcha day, the day that my folks got us. That was neat, and it made it special. I remember going to show and tell day in grade school and going up front and going, I'm adopted. That was my show and tell. There may have been a little jealousy later, but my folks say that I looked forward to having a little brother, and he had kind of a large-shaped, roundish-shaped head. And so one of his nicknames was Pork Chop. And where he got that one, I do not know. And he loved his playpen. Joel, another of his nicknames was Gilligan, because when Joel was in his playpen, it was Gilligan's Island. Where's Gilligan? Gilligan's in his island. We were encouraged, let's say, to spend a lot of time outside. A story my mom tells is her coming into the room, and I've got M&Ms in my hand, and I'm shoving the M&Ms up Joel's nose because he wouldn't open his mouth to eat the M&Ms that his loving big sister was trying to give him. So I was trying to share, but I was just too little to do it right.
Joel and Erica's first home was on the south end of Grand Forks, pretty close to the Red River.
East Elmwood Drive. Nice little home in a nice neighborhood. That was our first home. Until we moved out to East Grand Forks, out on the point, and I believe I was 6, because I did kindergarten in Grand Forks, and then I started grade school in in East Grand Forks, and we rode the bus. We lived out on a little farm out on the point. Dad was a general manager at AgSco Agricultural Chemical Company there in Grand Forks, and Mom at the time, Judy, was a housewife. We were raised Calvary Lutheran Church. We went there. Both folks taught Sunday school at different times in our life. I remember Mom bringing in Fisher Price Little People and using those to tell the stories of the Bible, a little Mary and a little Joseph. And yep, Calvary Lutheran Church is where and sadly, that's same place where we had Joel's services.
I asked Erica what Joel's personality was like as a child. The first words that came to mind were stubborn and strong-willed.
There's a Norwegian word, vrung. I believe it's something like V-R-U-N-G.
In fact, I looked up this Norwegian word. There are two words, vrang and vrang, which, if I have this right, they mean inside out and upside down.
And my Grandma Josephine, who is my mom Judy's mother, she called Joel vrung because he was a stubborn little boy. I don't want to eat that food. I don't want to take my medicine. I don't want to play that game. And the game would go flying, that kind of stuff. Just kind of an obstinate streak. He struggled a bit with hyperactivity as a boy. And so we were always trying different things to get that under control. And to this day, I don't know if it was ADHD or what it was, but they were always trying, a vitamin regimen or this regimen or that, diet, different things to make things easier for Joel. Because I don't know if part of that was part of the stubbornness too. We played pretty well together when we were younger. When we got a little bit older, my Grandma Jo refused to let us both come and stay at her house at the same time because we'd fight like cats and dogs. So she would take one of us 1 week and then to visit, and then the next one, then we'd swap. I'd go home and then Joel would go stay at Grandma's for a while. But she didn't want us both at the same time because we'd fight like cats and dogs, they'd always say. But there was never any doubt that I loved my little brother, and I know that he loved me, and even as his adult life, whenever he'd send me a birthday card or anything, he would sign it tongue-in-cheek now, your loving brother, Joel. And I can just hear that, and state it in exactly that flat tone, But it was tongue-in-cheek, and I knew what he meant by it.
Joel Lovelien graduated from high school in 1988.
He was well-liked, he was popular, he was a handsome young man. He was a good guy. As far as I know, he was always popular with the girls. In fact, when he said the Lord's Prayer as a child, he'd say, "And the power and the girlies, forever and ever, amen." Girlies instead of glory. We loved that one. Yeah.
One common theme I've come across when speaking to people about Joel is his coarse or maybe even raunchy humor.
Dry humor. Your loving brother Joel. I mean, that's right there in a nutshell to me. That says it all. But dry humor, coarse humor. Oh, yeah. Raunchy humor. That was Joel. And he'd deliver it in just a dry line, and he'd leave you wondering if it was a joke or not. He had a real gift. Yeah.
And was Joel Lovelien a fighter, violent, the kind of man to get into brawls?
Not that I ever saw. He didn't. We fought rough and tumble, but we didn't beat the stuffing out of each other or anything. It was just normal childhood stupid stuff, But no, I never saw it. Easy, gentle giant. He was a big guy, and he wasn't aggressive in that way. It was later in life He was one of the first guys any of us knew. He went to yoga class and he loved it. And he was a big guy. He could have been athletic. He never was really athletic. And he went to yoga class.
In college, Joel met, then married Heidi Holsley. Together they had a daughter, Alexa.
Eventually met Heidi, her whole family, and she's got some Montana connections. So we really bonded with Heidi and her family right from the get-go when they got married when they were young and met at UND. And when we heard that little Alexa was coming in 92, we were ecstatic. He was proud, he was excited, Heidi was excited. They were just a hardworking young couple, still trying to get through school and a baby on the way. And Alexa, the first time I saw her, I went, well, that's a little girl Joel. She looked just like Joel did when he was young. Yep, little girl Joel. That's what I called Alexa for quite a while. Oh, his nickname for her was Pickle. They were really, really close. Joel became known for belting out SpongeBob SquarePants right in the middle of a lunch or having a beer after work with buddies, because he and Alexa, that was their thing, SpongeBob SquarePants.
That was Joel's sister, Erica. We'll be right back with more friends and memories of Joel after this short break.
If you like what you hear on Dakota Spotlight, consider supporting it with a subscription to the forum. Get unlimited access to daily news, weather, and sports coverage for just 99 cents a month for your first 3 months. Visit inforum.news/join right now to subscribe. That's inforum.news/join.
In 2007, Joel Lovelien worked at the IT department at All True Hospital in Grand Forks. He made many friends there. One of them was Dana Kelly.
I'm Dana Kelly. I have been a friend of Joel's for many years. I used to live in Grand Forks, where I became friends with him through working together at All True. Our daughters were about the same age, or I should say are about the same age. And so the girls would do their thing, we'd do our thing, and he didn't live far away from me either. So, the girls could just walk over and hang out.
Dana told me that, in fact, the first time she met Joel at the hospital, she didn't have the greatest impression of him. It took her some time to get to know him well.
He kind of came across as a cocky IT guy, and he'd always come and help, but I came to learn, he's just a sweetheart and really a big teddy bear. He's the guy that would go out and talk somebody out of getting into a fight and make sure they were okay. He's not the guy that would go out and ever start a fight.
Dana and Joel often went to UND hockey games together. Dana sometimes referred to Joel as her hockey husband. Their relationship was strictly platonic, but they spent so much time together they were often mistaken for a couple.
You guys aren't married? We thought you were married this whole time. And we would often say that, because we were both single, that we should wear T-shirts that said, I'm not with him and I'm not with her, because people would just assume we were a couple, and we weren't. We were great friends, got along so well together. He would always sing the SpongeBob SquarePants song, and I never watched SpongeBob. I didn't know much about it, but he would just get up, big 6'4" guy, and be like, "Who lives in a pineapple?" And we always said that what was the song? My daughter could sing this to you. She made up a different song for him. I'm gonna have to think of it. I could. He's Jolie Poly Oly. He's big, not square. He's round. He's Jolie Poly Oly. He's the deadliest man in town because I've kicked him out of my car more than once for his gas. And so that was him. He was goofy. He'd fart and watch you suffer. and he was like a big brother. If they would come over, I actually have a picture of the three of them, my daughter, Alexa, and Joel in my daughter's room, and Joel was singing karaoke with them. He wasn't afraid to be a girl's dad. That is what he was.
Dana recalls Joel Lovelien was dedicated to his friends, a good friend, simply put. He cared about them.
When I moved out to the Iron Range, he and Alexa came out within a month or so to visit us and, kind of check, like, how you doing? Because I'm sure he looked at me like a little sister too. And that's when, about the time, that summer that I moved away is when he and Heather really connected and, like, they just hit it off. They were such a fun couple, and Heather had, just quit her job and moved up here to be with him.
Dana recalled for me the night that Joel died.
I was moving in to a new apartment out in Evelyn, Minnesota, and Jessica had a friend sleeping over. And I'd been putting things away all night. It was somewhere between 1 and 2 in the morning, and I was about ready to go to bed. And I knew that all those guys had gone out here, and my phone rings, and I'm like, okay, they're on their way home, they're calling. And I was just tired, and I didn't pick it up. And Chris called one more time, I didn't pick it up. And then the third time, I was like, something's got to be happening here. So I picked it up, and she told me that he had been in a fight. He was in the hospital and was taken to the hospital by ambulance, I think is what she said. And I'm like, is he okay? And she's like, no, he's gone. And then I was like, you're playing a joke on me. You guys are all, and it took me a few minutes for her to help me realize that she was not joking. And I remember where I was standing.
That was Joel's friend and colleague, Dana Kelly. Thank you so much, Dana. Next, I'd like you to meet Joel's niece, Leslie Hopda.
I met Joel a little bit later in life than you would think for a traditional uncle-niece relationship. So I am the daughter of his older sister, Erica Lovelien, and she gave me up for adoption at an early age, and so I wasn't raised by the Lovelien family, but we always had an open adoption, and my birth mother and my adoptive mother were always in contact growing up, and so I met the family in person. I always knew who they were, and I met them when I was 18. And then when I went to college in Grand Forks, then I was introduced to Joel and met him there. And so I was in college starting in 2004, and then I did graduate school at UND. So I was there from 2004 to 2010. And so I met Joel early on, and then only, unfortunately, was able to know him for a few years before he died. what struck me about him, which I wrote to you in the email, was that he was so kind, happy to meet me and was surprised to meet me. They kind of surprised him with meeting me, actually, is how it happened. And then, which is fun. And then he was, hey, like I'm here if you ever need anything, let me know. Gave me his cell phone number and was just very kind. And my impression of him was very positive. He was fairly soft spoken, just kind, friendly, like genuinely wanted to get to know me. It was funny when we first met. It was at a family friend's house, and Joel came up to me, not knowing who I was yet, and he goes, hello, shook my hand, and he says, have I met you before? Do we know each other? And which was funny because I assume I resemble his sister a bit, and he was picking up on those characteristics, and then we surprised him, like, well, actually, I'm Erica's daughter that you haven't met yet, and so yeah, he was very, very friendly, very kind of surprised, but so kind.
That was Joel's niece, Leslie Havda. Now I'd like you to meet Joel's friend and colleague, Jennifer Cole Fitchner.
I'm Jennifer Cole Fitchner. I live in Thompson, North Dakota. Met Joel the summer of 2000. He was someone who he tried to make people happy. I think that was probably like his goal, like for the day, make people laugh. I talked to people after he passed, and they'd been bowling or golfing with him, and they're like, hey, I spent one night golfing with him, and that was like my best night of golfing ever. We both worked at Altru. I'm a nurse, and he worked in information systems, and I'd walk the hallways just to run into him, just to see his smile, because he had an infectious smile. Should we say, like your interaction with Joel, like you were his friend from like the second you met him. I mean, he just had that kind of like aura about him. His daughter, Alex, like she was priority. We as his friends always knew it. You'd call him and say, hey, Joe, you going out tonight? He's like, no, I have Alex tonight. So yeah, have fun and I'll catch you next time. And it was like the second or third time I'd been out with Joel and Dana. And I asked Dana, I said, are you trying to set me up with him? And she's like, oh, Mr. Burpee, Mr. Farty. She's like, no, I would never do that to you. Like, he's known for his SpongeBob dance. You might have to ask somebody else about that one. But yeah. So when I hear the SpongeBob theme song, I think about him. My dad called me the next night, and he said, hey, this guy that got beat up and died at the bar, he's like, I think that's your friend. I'm like, no, Dad. I'm like, the only person that fits that age description is Joel, and he would try to stop a fight. He wouldn't be in the fight. And then I found out Monday at work, when I walked into the break room, and people that I worked with were looking at me, and I just thought it was kind of strange. And sat down and overheard a conversation and heard that Joel was the one. And I called Dana right away. She didn't call me right away, but she called me back and confirmed that, yeah, it was him. Joel was, he wasn't just a friend to me. He was like the brother I never had, is how I describe him. Like, I cried for him every day for years until my dad passed away. And then I just kind of transferred the tears to my dad and maybe grieved them both at the same time. So when you go to the hockey games and you hear the "Soo yeah yeah," like every time I go to a hockey game, I think of him.
We heard from Joel's sister Erica at the top of this episode. I want to leave you all with a memory she shared with me, and I'd like to thank Erica, Leslie, Dana, and Jennifer for sharing their memories. Next time, we'll get back to the story about Joel's death, the investigation, and the trial that followed. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time, and here's that memory from Joel's sister Erica.
After Joel passed away, when we were all in Grand Forks together, well, Joel died wearing a UND hockey jersey. his fiancee Heather worked at the Alaris Center, and we went to a UND hockey game. We got into the building, and I'd never been there, and it was wonderful. And we all went and bought UND hats and jackets and gear. And then we went up to this kind of a VIP area because Heather worked there, and there was some arrangements had been made. So we had this kind of a nice area to ourselves. And because, we had family, we had guests, we had friends that were all invited to join us. And it was more of another social hour than really watching a game of hockey, which on any other day of the week I'd have been fixated on. Well, yeah, the game was beginning. They did the anthem and all of that. And then the announcer said, we have a special group in the house tonight, and made this announcement. And just everybody knew, but he said, we recently had a tragedy here, and one of our one of our ardent fans we've lost one of our fans, and they put Joel up on the board, and then I had no idea. Then they fired up the SpongeBob SquarePants theme song, and we all started laughing, and then we started singing along, and next thing you know, the people in the arena were singing along with us. It was just a fantastic moment. It was wonderful. We were all hugging and smiling and crying and singing along, and oh yeah. It was a moment. It was such a moment.
Dakota Spotlight is a production of Forum Communications, researched, written, and produced by me, James Wallner. I also do the sound editing. Our podcast network manager is Chris Kurzman. Madison Hunter, our social media specialist, and Jeremy Fugelberg, our editorial advisor. To see photographs, documents, security video, and other member-only content about this season, head over to either inforum.com/unresolved or grandforksherald.com/unresolved. Want to support the show? We are entirely funded by members of Forum Communications Company. To become a member and support the show, go to inforum.com/subscribe. Find more Dakota Spotlight at inforum.com/Dakota Spotlight and check out the Vault section for more true crime. Don't miss the awesome Dakota Spotlight Facebook group. To join, go to facebook.com/groups/Dakota Spotlight. Finally, some music this season was generously granted again by Wowza in Kalamazoo and Hand Turner. Check them out at wowzainkalamazoo.bandcamp.com and handturner.bandcamp.com. Once again, thank you so much for listening to Dakota Spotlight. I'll see you next time.
Sweeter